getting started. Thank you, Tobias. And so once again, my name is Eben Goodstein. I'm director of the graduate programs that focus on sustainability at Bard College in New York. Along with my colleagues, two of whom are here, Tobias and Carrie Ann, we are running this thing called the Worldwide Teach-In on Climate and Justice. And what we're doing today is we've got an update from Carrie Ann about sort of all of the graphic opportunities and materials that are available through our project to support your work. And so, for example, I'm getting started on, really getting the posters together for our teach-in. And I will be relying on the storefront that Carrie Ann has produced for that. Just a quick report on our teach-in, how it's shaping up. We are doing the hashtag Make Climate a Class initiative. I have about 40 Bard faculty who have committed to taking a half an hour out of their classroom time sometime in March or early April to talk with students about, really just take a time out from my European history class and say, this isn't a class about climate change, but I'm going to talk about it for half an hour. And here's how historians are really rethinking history kind of as a consequence of climate change. And one interesting example, people are increasingly thinking that the reforestation after the decimation of Native American peoples in North America and South America actually cooled the planet for a while and maybe contributed to sort of political changes in Europe. Or I'm a chemist and I'm teaching, just an organic chemistry class. I'm going to take a half an hour and say, here's some really important issues in solar power development that are related to organic chemistry, and so on and so forth. And the basic idea is that anybody from any discipline can do that effectively, and that this is a way to really reach lots of students, right? So if I've got 40 faculty doing this and on average they're teaching 20 students and they've got 2 sections, I mean, the numbers get up into the 1600s pretty quick. And that's, really good. That's exactly the kind of apocalyptic conversation about climate change that we want to be having with students to get them inspired and thinking, I'm an economist, I like economics, I could be a climate economist, or et cetera. So that's the hashtag Make Climate a Class strategy. The other strategy is really doing something on your campus, co-curricularly, some evening events. We're going to have a session that features mocktails with community members working on climate issues, with students having opportunity to meet them, a very low-cost sort of soup and cornbread dinner, a keynote panel, and then we're going to break out into groups to just sort of take the temperature of students and have a conversation, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in terms of climate, despair and depression? You don't want to be at a 10, not sleeping. You don't want to be at a 1, ignoring things, but are you at a 6 or a 7? If not, how do we get you there? How do we get your friends there? And really sort of have that kind of temperature taking conversation about where Bard College is as an institution in terms of where it needs to be related to activism. So that's our core teach-in. We'll probably get 150 students with the promise of free food and the encouragement of faculty members. I'm hopeful. And then we're also doing a game night. The next night, there's a game that we're going to be playing about decarbonizing New York and hoping to get some theater students involved in putting on some of the plays that we're promoting through the teaching. So I wanted to just sort of set the table to give you an idea of what's going on, what we're doing. Let's quickly pause to see if there's any questions about the teach-in that I've provoked. And then we'll turn it over to Carrie Ann to let us know about all the fabulous resources that our team has developed. Any quick responses or questions or ideas that provoked by what I said?
I guess one of the questions I would have is, the issues of how to do education to both students and the public in terms of we're at a condition now, but what do we need in terms of public education to get more people more active with respect to doing things that are actually beneficial for them in terms of getting an electric bicycle or getting a electric car or taking their home and improving insulation and moving towards electrification of their heating.
So Larry, your question is, how do we as educators engage the public outside of our universities in that dialogue, or our students in that dialogue?
Both.
Well, that's what the teaching is designed to do, right? Is to bring the campus together, at least for those conversations. You can also, if you have the energy in the team, strongly encourage you to reach out beyond that. One of the strategies we talked about, for example, is inviting high schools to send students up to campus to participate in the conversation. If you've got a teach-in schedule, that's a good way to kind of expand your audience and reach out beyond the immediate campus. This year, we're going to be engaging a number of community stakeholders, at least in ours, to have them in conversation with students about what is happening in the community and how they can get involved. But it really is the $6 million question. It's what we're all focused on, and we've got a bunch of strategies and tactics to make it work. So, good. Well, Carrie-Ann, let's turn it over to you, and Tobias, maybe you could make Carrie-Ann a co-host, and please put any other questions you might have for me in the chat while Carrie-Ann takes us on a tour of our fabulous website resources.
Thanks, Eben. Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie-Ann. My pronouns are they, them. I'm coming from you. I'm joining you all from Chicago, which is the Rocky Mountain and Massachusetts tribe land that I'm currently on. And I'm excited to talk to you all about the Worldwide Teach-In today. This is my second Teach-In season with the team. So if you saw anything from last year or are all familiar with the work we did last year, a lot of those posters and graphics came from this conversation that we had last year as well. So I'm very excited to have you all here today, especially I noticed in the chat, some of you are newer to participating in the teach-in as of this session. So super excited to have y'all here. For those of you that are already planning your teach-in, there's going to be lots of materials for both sides. So we're going to look at some of the models and resources that we already have. And then we're also going to be looking at more of the brand guide and the marketing tactics that we can use to make sure we're having a robust engagement, whether it's in our community or on our campus or at our K through 12 school. Everything we talk about today is going to be pretty flexible and adaptable to those different spaces we might be working in. So again, my name is Carrie-Ann. My pronouns are they, them. I'm going to watch the chat. We're going to do lots of links in the chat, so keep your chat open. And yeah, let's just hop into it. If I can have screen sharing permissions, please.
Eben, I think you have to make Carrie-Ann co-host, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, as a co-host,
yes.
You don't have those privileges. All right, sorry. Okay, Carrie-Ann, you are good to go.
Thank you. All right. So, got a very short presentation here, and I'd love to do this as a discussion as much as y'all are interested in. Let me just make sure I've got everything in view. Cool. So today we're going to go over kind of 3 different things. We're going to talk about our brand. We're going to talk about broadcasting tactics, so how we're going to get this out to the people in our community and get them showing up. And then, as I said, we are going to review some of the resources that we've developed on the Worldwide Teach-In side. For those of you who have not yet planned your teach-in, it is not too late. We have lots of different models, and there's lots of different ways you can still get activated to host something. And so those resources we go over at the end will be most beneficial for you if you're just getting started. So most of the presentation today, I'm just going to walk you through some of the already existing things that we have. And so we're going to start out in the brand guide, which I have open. And I'm going to put this link in the chat, so you are all welcome to join me here. This brand guide is a continuation from last year's. So we have a number of links on it that will take you to some other resources. These ones at the top, we're going to look at as we go through the presentation. So I'm going to move us down to the social media portion. As we talk about broadcasting and how we're going to utilize social media, it's always smart to use hashtags and to tag our main accounts. This is important because when you tag us on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, we can reshare your post and get it out to our followers as well. So just a great way to get more people seeing what you're trying to get out in your community, give it some following, and hopefully, make it go viral if that happens to be the case. So these are all of the accounts you can use and the hashtags that we recommend. If you check out these hashtags, like if you go in Instagram and you search right now for one of these hashtags, you'll see a bunch of posts from last year's internship and last year's events that happened. Those are great inspiration. I highly recommend checking out some of the content that's on those hashtags. And we do have interns working this year, filling them up with more new great posts. So that's very exciting. So I do provide a set of logos that are the Worldwide Teach-In logos. You are free to use the logos on all of the content you might create, from posters to presentations and everything else that you want. And if you do choose to use the logos and you want to stay within our brand guide of the Worldwide Teach-In, these colors here are to support you in doing that. This is the hex code for what the colors are. I don't think anybody noted that they're from a communications background. If you're not from a communications background, these are basically, I can copy and paste this into Canva or Adobe and get the same exact shade that is on the logo so that everything matches. Canva pulls it up for you automatically though, which is really great. And then at the end of this brand document, we have just some really short blurbs. These are helpful because they can give you some guided language on how to talk about the teach-in. What is it? Why are we doing it? What is our goal? Even just noted, we're a really hope-centric movement. We're trying to do the education. We're trying to get more people having conversations around solutions. And these blurbs are there to help you find that language. And obviously it's adaptable for what your teach-in needs. And I want to make this really clear. The brand guide is here as a guide. You are all not working on our team in our brand. You can zhuzh it, please don't make any edits to our logo as it is. But if you want to change the colors of the brand and use other colors than just the green, that's totally up for you to do. This is just a guideline. And the only people who really have to stick hard to it are us on the Worldwide Teach-In. Everyone else is up to their own church choices. I see a question in the chat. Does the blurb exist in Spanish? If not, would it be useful that I translate it for others too? I will need it in Spanish. That's a great question, Alan. I'm going to say we're totally open to you doing a translation. If you want to do a translation of it, you can send it to any of our team members, Tobias, David, or myself. Maybe Tobias or David, you can put your email in the chat and we can update this to include the Spanish version. We are hoping to have the interns translate some of our posters. So the posters within the next couple of weeks should be available in a diversity of languages. And one resource I'm not going to go over today because I'm going to do the 2023 version is we do have the 2022 version of posters. And for these ones, we have 8 different language translations. So if I do general posters, we have it in Filipino, French, English, Portuguese, Spanish, etc. So ideally, all the ones we have for 2023, I'm going to try and get translated into similar languages. But if you ever come across something in our resources that you don't see a translation of yet and you want to translate it, we are very grateful for that because this is a worldwide event. Cool. So I'm going to move forward. The next thing we're going to look at is our logos for this year. So our brand guide is going to tell us how to use the logos and materials. And these are the actual logos that we have for this year. So primarily we have this graphic logo. It's just a picture. There's no words on it. If your poster already says Worldwide Teach-In, this is a great option. Throw it in the corner. If your poster doesn't already say Worldwide Teach-In, this is another option for you. And this one would probably be your best one to use if you don't want to put Worldwide Teach-In on it, but you want people to know you're affiliated with us. This has all the words in it. If they were to Google what this says, they would find our website. So these three that I've just shown you are kind of the primary logos. This we would call a text logo because it's all words. And then we have some other pieces. So if you wanted to have a Zoom background, this one is pretty good. We have it also flipped depending on your Zoom settings. And then we also have this graphic, which is on our website. And I really like this graphic personally, because I think it really speaks to what we're trying to do with this educational movement and what the teach-ins are really all about, which is kind of focusing in on solutions in our communities and making small local impact, but on a global scale. So these are our logos. I'm going to put the link to this folder in here as well. You're going to get a follow-up email with all of these links in it. So don't worry if you miss a link, you're going to get it in the follow-up. The next thing we're going to look at is some of our templates. So we've got 3 different types of templates. One is for the actual event posters. This is what the Canva looks like, and I will put this link here as well. That's our first Canva link. This is our first template. And so it's just made minor modifications from last year's template, so you can still always run with what we did last year as well. And this is in Canva. If you hit that button I just hit that says use this template, it's going to make your own version. So don't worry about messing up like the back end and everyone else's version. You can actually edit this. And you can see mine now says copy of event poster template. So this is my own document. I can make edits to this and it will be mine. So we've just got some basic posters here. We've got lots of little graphics you can copy and paste and use. I like this one. This has a bunch of different topics that were brainstormed by one of our partners, I believe, about like, as Eben was saying, if you're having a history class or if you're having a math class, we could talk about how those things intersect with climate change. These topics were brainstormed as part of that idea of how could we make any class into a climate class. And then I added a sampler page here, which just has a lot of the graphics that you might want to use on a regular basis, including those main logos. So you don't have to go ahead and import them yourself. So this sampler page, if you don't like any of these templates that we made, that's cool. You've got lots of things you could do with some of these pieces yourself. The next template that we are going to look at is going to be the about the event posters. So these posters are telling us what is the teach-in. What are we doing here? And this is what we have for those. These ones are all fresh and new for this year, so that's fun. I love the idea of changing this background photo to a photo from your community. I think that would be a great way to use this template, is to replace this with a photo of your town center or of a building that everybody recognizes in your community. I could think of many photos of the Bard campus that would look great here. And that would really make it personal for your community. And for these posters, we have a couple versions of the models that we have at the teach-in. So as Eben said, we have different models that you can use to host. If you haven't already set up how you're going to host your teach-in, these are a great way to think about how might I want to do this. We've got the 3-hour breakdown. We've got make climate a class. We've got the 3-hour teach-in for the university, details on hosting a faith event in your community. If you're already hosting in your community, but you think that adding something on, like having the local synagogue in your community host as well, maybe send them this faith poster and see if they'd be interested. This is a great way to try and get more people in your community participating in a variety of ways. So there's another question. Thank you, Tobias, for answering. I just want to reiterate, our logos can go on your posters. Your logos totally can go on our posters on the homepage of our website. We have like so many logos of our partners, and all of our partners have our logo on their page. So definitely throw your logo on our stuff. That's totally cool. That's how we show we have partnership with one another, that you're part of our global movement and that we're part of your local movement. So yeah, these posters are for you to either broadcast about what type of event you're hosting or try and get more community members to participate in your event. The third one we're going to look at is some sample social media posts, and those are important as we think about broadcasting. This is our template for the social media posts. There were also some social media graphics in this folder from 2022. I'll let it load. So this is another set of examples you could use. And yeah, so I'm going to hit use template. That makes it my own. I can do anything I want with it now. Cool. And again, playing off this map graphic, you can change the date. And we've got some variations here using kind of the same graphics that we had on the other poster. And so once again, this sampler of logos that's on the event poster template, this is really helpful. You can just copy these graphics into here. If I don't like, I've already got my other logo, so I'm going to put this little building here instead. Very easy to use Canva if you haven't used it before. Yeah. Yes, Fernanda, you will definitely get access to the PowerPoint and all of the folders and the links. And the links are all in the PowerPoint as well as in the brand guide. So multiple ways to find things. Cool. So those are our brand templates. Are there any questions about how to use them, what's been shown so far, or anything that you were hoping to see as far as brand templates that you haven't seen yet? I'll take the silence as satisfaction so far.
I think it's massive satisfaction, Carrie Ann, and just congratulations on all this tremendous work. It's great to see, this incredible infrastructure that you've created.
Yeah, thanks, Eben. Yes, Fernanda Vidal has a question. If you want to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So first of all, it's beautiful, amazing. It seems very easy to play around. That is amazing. Especially because it's a collective effort, so it's beautiful to see. So I work at the TLC Center, at the Graduate Center. We started a conversation to see if it's possible on the timeline that we have to do something. But I'm personally trying to connect some psychologists who are from Brazil. I'm from Brazil, so I have like lots of colleagues there to create something more disciplinary. So trying to like ask psychologists to do something in their classes based on different aspects of psychology. So let's say developmental psychology, so the impact of children and youth, or if you teach like community psychology, so you can connect with that. So my idea is to maybe try to connect people to maybe an initial event to curate some materials. Maybe that is going to be the possible goal. So in that case, should I also use those materials and put in Portuguese in that case and continue using the logos and etc.?
I think the minimum you could do is just using the logos, and the maximum is translating the blurbs that we have and using the language that's already established. all of the graphics and logos that we're providing today are free use. So as long as you're using it in the context of hosting your version of the teach-in, you're good. Like that's all for you to decide. If it's more work for you to try and make some of the posters work in a different language, or if the formatting doesn't work, when we do the translations, I usually have to go back in and make some adjustments to make it all look nice. And I understand that that's sometimes more. And I think that's true for more than just our posters and graphics, right? Some of the language isn't always great to like it doesn't work translating it over. There's different connotations with different words. So in short, you can just use the logos if you want to, but whatever is going to make it easiest for you to create that content and support your teach-in, you're welcome to use. Is that answering your question? I think I kind of got what you were asking, but I want to make sure.
Yes, if I ever translate something, I'm gonna send to you. I only can translate to Portuguese, but if I'm using something, I try to do this because I think it's gonna be nice for next people who wants to use similar materials in Portuguese is already there.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try as much as I can, but I will let you. Thank you.
I love that. Yeah, and I will say there is some materials translated. It's just a little bit limited. So on our homepage of our website here, at the very top, you can see we have some language variations of the pages, and we do have Portuguese. If it loads. Thank you, Tobias, for the link. So some of the content already has been translated. If this makes it at all easier to copy and paste phrases. Again, hopefully the interns are going to be able to also translate these posters for us. And I think it'd be cool to just change some of this. So this could be your event poster. This is graphically really fun to me. But yeah, I would definitely also recommend exploring our website. Most of the pages have some translation into other languages. I think just the resources and the models page are maybe not as up to date as the English version. So if you are kind of cross-referencing the two, you might see a little bit of discrepancy because we did the translations earlier on and then made a couple adjustments. We launched our climate plays just this last month or so. So those ones haven't been translated on the models page. Cool. Any other questions around the branding before I move forward? And I really appreciate everyone's kind words. I really hope to make this process easier for you. So I'm glad that things, at least on first glance, look that way. So I'm going to move us forward. This next link I'm giving you is to a Google Drive folder. Last year, we had this great idea to ask all of the hosts to try and send us in their posters, which is really, honestly, I'm so grateful we did it because there's such a wide variety of posters that they made. And I think they're just really fun to look at. Some of these are graphically just so cool. Some of them lean more academic, others are very Gen Z, this is a, I don't know, more of a rally or an event. Some of them kind of look like then an educational one, but they are educational, which is still really cool. And there's some really good examples here about using our logo. So I didn't want to do that. That one's a document. But you can see this is last year's logo. It's been thrown in. There's a logo above it. That's great, super cool. This one, I would bet this was also made on Canva. I think this looks awesome as well. It's got all the information you need. Yeah, I highly recommend flipping through some of these. They're really cool and they're a great source of inspiration. Yeah, does anybody, if you're joining me in this folder, does anybody want to share one that you're really enjoying or that really excites you that you might be seeing? I'm a little curious what people get excited about because I know what I like to look at, but I'm always curious what other people like to look at. I'll take the
I was going
silence.
to say the one with faces is obviously different, and kind of stands out to me.
Yeah, which one with faces? The one that's here or like this?
No, it was the one I was looking at was higher up, but maybe
Uh-huh.
it had like a row of so a real
Yeah.
people. There's the one at the top there. Whoop, right there, second row.
This one?
Let's see. Yes, that one.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to go sideways. That's great, Eben. I will say that is a graphic design tactic, actually. When you put real people's faces on content, it makes it more trustworthy and people will feel more likely to want to engage with your things because they can see that real people are involved. So if you're hosting in your community and you're thinking, I'm maybe a new org or I'm not a well-known department, you might want to lean towards having real people's faces on your graphics because this is statistically more likely to make people trust you. Not
But
that,
you have to get their permission, right?
of course, yeah, you're looking for your speakers or your community members or your alumni to be on it. And that's not to say graphics like this one aren't as effective, but this has a different role than one with people's faces. This one's more educational and activating, and it's going to make me want to do something. And that's why it has the actions to take at the bottom. Whereas one where there's people's faces, I want to go join this person and see what they have to say and learn from them. And I trust them more because I can see that they're real and not just a little graphic or an AI simulated face, since that's a thing now. That wasn't a thing last year. Okay, I'm gonna push us forward. I want to give us a little bit time at the end to have any questions or conversations that we want to have. So I'm going to talk a bit about broadcasting and those tactics I was just mentioning. Thinking about your graphics is either building trust or educating or getting people to take action are part of what we would call a marketing strategy. And I'm going to break it down a little bit smaller for us and do some really basic stuff, which is thinking about the different channels we can use to get people to hear about the event. So obviously, some events are online, some are in person, some are both, but it doesn't restrict you to only posting online or only in person. You should use both the digital and physical spaces to broadcast about your event, whether it's online or in person or both. So you always want to make sure this is like, you need to have these things. If you have a university or a school website or a school Facebook page or a student Facebook group, whatever that digital website space looks like for your community, you want your event posted on that space. Maybe on the homepage, maybe on an events page, but you want it on the website so people can find it. If you do a newsletter, whether that's a newsletter to your class or a newsletter to your department or a newsletter to the entire staff or to all of the students, make sure you're using the newsletter to send out either the poster or the blurb or both. And social media accounts. If you're at a university or college, they definitely have social media. Try asking, there's probably a communications department, people who work in my sphere, give them the brand guide, they'll run with it. If you don't have that, if you're maybe a little bit smaller, usually an admin office also has access to social media, or if you're in a high school setting or a K through 12 setting, you might not have social media accounts for the school, but you are probably going to have club accounts where students who host like a eco club in their high school might have a social media account for the eco club. So trying to connect with whoever the leader of that group might be, whether it's the student or the teacher, and getting it on social media that way. So always use your website, any emailing you can do, whether it's a newsletter or just direct emailing, and then social media accounts, either your own, your institutions, or student group accounts. Then, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Okay. And then it's one thing to just post about your event one time and say it's happening. But if you really want people to be engaged and be excited and tell their friends, hey, we all need to go to this event, you want to drum up excitement. And the way we drum up excitement in the digital space is by doing the slow, continual updates and giving people little pieces of information at a time. So when we were looking at those posters, I keep getting rid of it. There we go. I really like these ones here because you can see they did a lot of different posts. And if I were them, I would not have posted all of these at the same time. I would have done them slowly building up to the event so that as we continue to post, people are A, reminded this is happening, and B, learn more about who they might see at it and be more excited to go. Like, I'm excited to see somebody in this panel, but then you make this post 4 days later and I'm excited to see this person talk as well. Well, now I'm doubly interested, and it's only grown over time that I want to go and see this event. So that's how we'll build up excitement. We're going to do it slowly. We're going to work with our campus groups to do that slow rollout of information. And you kind of want to keep people on the edge of their seats in the digital space. That's what makes things really exciting. Yeah. And then for the physical space, which is actually on our campus, in our community, on our school ground, wherever you might be, you're going to want physical posters and flyers, whether they're black and white or color, doesn't matter. Just get them posted, go to the cafes, go to the town halls, go to the libraries, anywhere where there's a bulletin board that people would regularly check. That should be your first place. And then kind of the places the people you want to attend might congregate. So I'm thinking at Bard, there's this cafe in town that everybody congregates at. I would put a poster there. I would maybe even leave a couple on the tables around outside if it's a nice day. And I know students are always there. So that would be a good place for me to, get some posters out. Additionally, if I don't have the time to go out and do posters, but there is a school club that's interested in supporting this work, ask your students to just go throw posters around where they hang out. It's really easy as a student, and I say this from experience, just keeping a stack of posters in my bag and dropping them off as I move from place to place around campus. That was a really easy way to publicize. And if you can get the printed posters in students' hands, whether it's just individuals or for a student group, that's a great way to publicize information about your event as well. But do use the bulletin boards as well. Those are the easiest and safest option for getting information out there. And then I would also always just say, if you aren't currently engaging the students in your planning process and you don't have an event fully planned yet, find some students to engage. It could make it a lot easier for you and could make it really exciting for them as well. I know Tobias has a number of resources for student planning of an event as well. And I think that we have a webinar recorded from a couple of weeks ago specifically for students on how to host an event. So if you're interested in getting students more involved in your planning and you have capacity for that, I highly recommend it. And we have resources to support you on that. Any questions about broadcasting? I'm giving you like the 101 of communications broadcasting. There's a lot more you can do than what's on this slide. But if you're new to this space, this is my kind of bare minimum, what you should be doing to have a successful attendance. Yes, and as Tobias said, register your teacher if you haven't yet. Because when you put it on the map, then next year we get to make a new map with all these great dots on it, and it looks really cool. Okay, if there's no questions, I'm going to move to the last section, which is reviewing the actual resources we have for planning your teaching. I'm going to start with the write-ups. So we have a folder here that has a how to host for each of these. Some of them we've just updated from last year, but they have a basic run through of what the model is. making the ask to faculty to participate in it. They're a little, long, but really helpful step by step if you're not sure where to start or you're trying to figure out what makes the most sense for you. If you're looking for more of an overview, I highly recommend our website. I didn't put water next to me, and I'm talking a lot, so now I feel like I'm getting to the end of my talking. So this is our website. We have these cool drop downs that have information, and these links go back to some things that we've already looked at. So I think this link goes back to this page, which is the run through. But if you're not sure what the best type of event for your community would be, this is the page to go to. This has the overview of it. And if you've already planned your event and you want to make it like 10 times cooler, there are two ways you could do that. One of which is the cooler of the cooler options, is to add a theater piece to your event. And we have that here. There were 3 selected from a competition we held. They're all really awesome short theater pieces that you can engage your community in. Even if it's just a reading at your event, that's a really cool thing to include. And the second really cool thing you could do, which is also on our resources page, which I'm going to take us to now, is you can add a video or a like a movie or a film to your event. And under the Make Climate a Class section, we have all of these great videos. And then we just added these last couple of weeks, a collection of climate films for higher ed and high school from Bullfrog communities, and the Gen Z mental health collection, which has a bunch of awesome films. These are so cool and so easy. If you're already planning an event and it's on Friday and you're doing like the Make Climate a Class all day, or you're doing the 3-hour teach-in, throw a Thursday film screening on to your plans. Just get the theater on campus, get a lecture room on campus to run one of these. This is such a cool, easy add to your event. And it will make it more exciting for people, because if they come Thursday and they don't know about Friday, they'll be excited. And if they know about Friday, but they can't make it, giving them a Thursday option is also really awesome. And you'll get to interact with more students, have a larger impact. And these films are really cool. I was looking through them when I added them to the website, and they're just such a cool resource. I'm so excited that we're working with these groups. And those are all the resources we have. Scroll through this page. It's really long, but there's a lot of really good stuff in here. There's interactive websites. There's like mock syllabi for how to make climate a class. There's teaching resources for higher ed, academic readings, all types of really cool resources on this page from all of our partners across the globe. So definitely check it out. And we've got some example photos, and that's what I have for our presentation today. We've got about 10 minutes left. So if we have any questions, if not, I'd love to hear any thoughts you'll have about how you think you might want to host your teach-in now that we've gone through all these resources.
What is your sense about downloads and stuff? Is beyond this outreach that we're doing today, does the community seem to be aware of these resources?
Yeah, so I can tell based on our general engagement from follow-up emails and whatnot, people are aware of these resources we have, but we are going to send out a resources specific email to everyone on our email list. So if you're at this webinar right now, or you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, you will get an email if you're on our email list. Maybe we'll add the link somewhere to join our email list. And all of these resources will be laid out there as well. The models, the brand guide, the logos. And as I said before, there's multiple ways to get to each of these pieces of information. So yeah, hopefully that makes it easier. And even I was going through this morning, like double checking links and everything, and there was a couple people on some of the pages as I was going through them.
Right.
So yeah. I was gonna say, I love the Zoom silence because I could sit in silence and wait for people to have questions for a really long time. But I will just open the floor, even David, Tobias, if you guys have things to add as well. And if anyone has any questions, we can use the chat as well. And I'll put my LinkedIn and email in the chat too. So if you have specific things about communications and you want to follow up with me, you'll be able to.
Thanks, Carrie Ann. I'll break the silence. Thank you so much for this. It's really amazing that the resources are all available and they're so easy to access and use. It's so great. I'm getting all kinds of ideas. I just, I have no questions. At the moment, I'm looking at possibilities. The most probable way of doing something is with schools, actually, in my case, rather than universities. Although I do have a foot in the door in the local university here in Quito, where I live, and I'm hoping to involve them somehow if I can get someone motivated. But climate isn't something that's covered at all at that university. It's not even on the map. So it's kind of hard to find the right allies, but it's also a great opportunity, right, to install that kind of preoccupation. And with schools, couple ideas. I have a board game that I made about climate solutions, and I've got a prototype. And one idea would be to sit down with a bunch of students and get them to play the game, and then have a discussion, about specific aspects of climate action, and that could be an event. And others, I created the first module of an online course for kids in Spanish about climate change with animation. And another idea would be to have students watch take that first module and then have a discussion and teach their peers what they learned with a creative presentation of some kind. So this just ideas that are kicking around. I'm looking forward to consolidate that. It's all about meeting the right people and getting them motivated and interested. That's my main challenge right now.
Yeah, I love that, Alan. Thank you so much for sharing. You made me think about, I just attended an organizing training, and something they talked a lot about was finding other people's bid. So when you bring a new movement or idea to people, finding like what's going to excite them about it, but also what are they going to gain from joining your movement?
Exactly.
And I think I'm thinking back to when I was a student at Bard, since I am a Bard alum. And when I was a student, I wanted us to talk about climate in classes all the time. And we happened to host a strike, which was really fun. And we had a petition, and the petition was submitted and went through. And that petition led to even being able to get us a bunch of more funding. And I think bringing climate into the classroom might seem like a big task, but there are more opportunities for things like funding and grant writing when you're teaching about climate. So that was a really good bid for us. Like, we were able to get it through, and it got the college money. And who doesn't love money in a capitalist world?
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Finding the bid. What's it going to be? Cool. Thanks for sharing.
I'll just quickly chime in. Thank you so much, Carrie Ann. This is so awesome to see, and I'm so excited to see everyone use these resources. Carrie Ann mentioned about our youth programming and youth support. I just want to chime in about that because I'm kind of the liaison for that. So if you would like any youth support at your institution, or there's some students you work with who you think might want to get involved and really help out, I would love to connect with them and with you about that, because we are offering certificates for students who successfully help to organize a teach-in, and a certificate in climate organizing from Bard College. So if you have a student in your network who is putting in a lot of time and effort into making your teach-in successful, we would love to have them be able to point to that and have that on their resume. So I'll put my email in the chat again, and please connect with me about that.
All right. Any other questions about anything on your minds regarding the teach-in? And in particular, this is like, as I said, our office hours. How can we help? Any questions, anything coming up for people?
Thanks, Ed. Eben, sorry,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
do have a question.
Sure.
I know this is the teaching is a specific date,
Yep.
but how flexible is that date in terms of stuff going on around it?
Very,
Because it
very
might be-
flexible.
Okay,
Very flexible. So anytime in the spring really is fine.
all right.
Next
Okay.
week, we're going to have climate week.
Yeah.
But that can actually be climate month or climate spring or whatever. So we're mis-signaling a little bit by picking a day, and we want to indicate it'll be flexible.
Okay, that's good, because sometimes, for example, the school I'm looking at, they have already got some sustainability
Sure.
events going on in March.
Mhm.
But they might not fit the exact date. So it's good to know that I can hijack those events a little bit,
Of
if you see
course.
what I mean. Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today, and we will be back next week. David, what is the agenda for next week? Do we have one, or is it just an office hour session?
Yeah, so next week will be a chance for you to share your information about your teaching and your plans. We'll be joined, I'm not sure which session, but Dorit Arthur from University of California, Santa Cruz, who had a
Mhm.
great teaching last year that actually involved a large number of campuses in the University of California system, and was tied in with working on getting the university administration to divest and do other activities. So that will be the next week, and then the following week will be our partner, an organization called Write the World, and we are working with them on a climate writing contest for teenagers, and this will Liza Cochran and one of her colleagues from there will be talking about engaging writing for advocacy into your teaching. So we got a lot of great things, and thank you all. It's really exciting. Carrie Ann, you did a great job, and it's exciting to hear what other people are thinking about doing.
Well, with that,